So welcome to medieval self-defense, although technically my area of expertise is Renaissance. Just being a little pedantic, medieval era ended at about 1450 to 1500. Anything past that, thank you, is technically Renaissance. So what most of us call medieval is not medieval, if you're a pedantic historian. So, saying that though, a lot of what they did in the time period I study is essentially the same as, thank you sir, as back then. In my hands I have essentially the same weapon, it's just the crossguard's a little different. So technically...
Can the front row maybe take a seat so the back rows have a better opportunity to see? If you can. You can't, though.
Thank you, Larry. So, technically, you know, this is a parrying rapier or parrying dagger for a rapier and dagger type work, or side sword and dagger. And this is just your dagger, right? But if you look at the blade, it's essentially the same blade. This one's a little thicker. But they're essentially the same thing. This is the type of thing a gentleman would have as he's walking around town at all times. There are some myths that say that, you know, it was illegal for people to carry swords and stuff like that. No. In fact, it was the opposite. You were required by law in some parts of Central Europe to have a sword. So if you were a citizen of a city, you are required to carry a sword. But saying that if you drew your sword in anger, that might be a bad thing. Now, if you drew your dagger in anger, it was, you know, not quite so bad. Even though you're more likely to kill the person with the dagger than you are with the sword. That's a whole nother story. These we would probably just call a dagger nowadays. I didn't bring the actual steel versions of these because mine are sharp, and I know Dragon Con would not approve me bringing sharp items into here. But this is known as a rondel. Okay, a rondel is essentially an ice pick that you carried around with you. They came from having to puncture armor. Okay, so if you see the chainmail here, honestly the best weapon against armor, especially once we start getting stuff like this, is a dagger. It's not a sword, it's not really a spear. You know, a poleaxe, awesome. Poleaxe will definitely get this down. But if we end up wrestling, I take you to the ground, I'm pulling my dagger out, and I'm going to start trying to get it here, get under here, or just punch it through the mail. So that's where the rondel came from. As time progressed, you would see, and by the way, the rondel is not named after this. It's named after these. These are rondels. Okay, so that's why I wish I was able to bring my actual one, so you'd see the circle. They were just called rondels. There were lots of different styles. You do find rondels with this type of blade as well as time progresses, because they're just a nice thing to carry around. There are also other type of daggers, but they all essentially are used the same. So you've got what's known as a bollocks dagger, which I'm not going to go into too much. But let's just say they were for people with low self-esteem. And there were also a Swiss Dagger, which sort of looks like the old Viking era swords, right? They had a straight handle or pommel stop up here, and a straight handle down here. The blades for all of these daggers were essentially the same though. So it didn't really matter what you wore, it's just where in the world did you live. But your blade came in, you know, three basic types. Sort of an ice pick, sort of flat, or a little bit in between both, right? What we're going to do today, because the area is so small, I really can't have you do much, unfortunately, so I'm going to run through some stuff and talk a lot. So we'll try to make it interesting though.
Keith, 1 second.
Yes.
On that note, on the app,
please give a review about how well he does, and complain that you don't have a big enough room for all of
Yes.
Please complain, we need a bigger room.
Yes. At another event last year, who I'm not going to say, although they are associated with DragonCon, I was able to teach this, and it was so much more fun. Anyway, so Kristen here is going to be my lovely assistant for today. I beat her up. The person I study from is a gentleman called Joachim Meyer, or Meyer. I can never pronounce his name properly. My German is terrible. And he wrote his book in about 1570. He was basically at the end of an era. He was one of the last books written on this stuff because cultures changed. So the time area when a person would walk around with this very quickly changed to when you'd walk around with a parrying dagger and a rapier on your hip. And as a gentleman, it was no longer cool for you to wrestle. But they still wrestled. Anyway, what I'm going to go through today is just a few different ways of how they would use these in self-defense. The first thing that makes Joachim Meyer a little bit different is he predominantly assumes that both people have a dagger. Okay? But I'm going to go through a play or two from an earlier source called Lickmesser, which is about 1450, 1460 first. I'm being a little unfair here. I'm doing the old classic thing you'll see on YouTube of the master being a lot bigger than the person attacking. But she volunteered, so... so the first thing they always sort of assume, because of the aspect of the weapon, is that she would attack from an ice pick type grip. Okay? That's not to say that a saber grip, so swap it around. A saber grip didn't exist. It did, but they didn't really assume it. Okay? So go back to the ice pick. One of the first things that you'll always see is I don't wait for her to do what?
Lunge at you.
Lunge at me, right? Yeah, so come on in. Once I'm here, it's too late, okay? They would always try, as she pulls, to come in. Now, we have a few different ways. If you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or wrestling, you may notice how I'm grabbing her hand. I'm not using my thumb. Every single source we know, going from the Italian source in like 1390 by Fiore, to the German sources, all show this. My force of habit doesn't let me do this because I'm afraid I'll break my thumb. But they will always come to here, trying to control this hand. Okay? Let's have you change your feet, just so I can be meaner to you.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to go through a play that we see in every single source ever. She pulls back, I get in here. From here, I come up, and I control. Okay? Now, I'm just going to loosen a little bit. Nowadays, when we do this stuff, we tend to say, and how are you falling?
I can.
Okay, I'll put you down nice and soft. From here, you pull the person down. You disarm and you whatever, right? That's not what they said. Really what they said was, you come to here, you trap. Now, how did I pull Kristen down? I did this number, right? I crossed the body, popped her over my hip or my leg. No, they say go this way. And I'm being really nice right now because I should be lifting my other hand up. What's going to happen to poor Kristen? And which way when she falls, because she will fall, will she fall?
Back of the head first.
Back of the head first, right? Mm-hmm. They're not interested in civil liability. Brother, their civil liability is, magistrate, I was attacked, I had no weapons, sorry, he's dead. Right? Okay. Loosen up for the day.
I know, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that feels good.
Another one, Fiore, an Italian master, is very well known for his dagger work. And he does something that we see and we actually mock a lot in traditional martial arts, which is yield X-block, right? So she attacks in and, if you've ever done karate, they go, you do this, and then you do this, and then you do that, and yeah. He actually does this too, which maybe means that they were right. I mocked him a lot. But there's a difference. The difference being, When he comes to here, he's not expecting you to stop. Okay? Which is what we see a lot in modern martial arts, right? It's you're here, and then I knee, or something, right? No. He's worried about the dagger. Right? I can do this because I'm better than her. That's the only reason why. And she's being compliant. But he expects coming to here. Then he's immediately going for the thing that's a risk to him. Okay? They didn't worry, again, about niceties. In the play, go back up, and the person who knows this play a lot better than me is a gentleman from Canada. When he was explaining this to me, he's like, I'm going from here to here. And I'm being nice right now, I'm just going up to here and she's letting go. The average person won't want to let go, will they? No. So instead of being here, I'll bring my hand to her elbow. Boom. Right? Again, I'm worried about me being safe. I don't care about her. The other thing they always do, if you've ever seen, who's seen the Jason Bourne movies? Right? And the Jason Bourne movies get lots of credit for having sort of realistic fighting scenes, right? And if you've ever seen in a Jason Bourne movie, if you've ever seen a Jason Bourne movie, whenever there's a weapon involved, they always have Jason trying to control the weapon hand. And they're always like, yeah, in Krav Maga, or it's a smart system. I can't remember, it's a modern system of self-defense. This is why we do this. And no dude, they were doing this in 1300. They were saying, they have a dagger, you control the dagger hand. You are always on the side of the dagger. You are away from the other hand trying to control this, right? For Fiore, he rolls, he brings through. People are going, oh, but the dagger's still here. The dagger's not here. I've just broken her elbow. Right? I'm being nice right now and she's being compliant. She's not going to be compliant. So in compliance, she's going to go, and you're dead, right? No, I'm going to go bang. I'm going to do this. If she doesn't drop this, I'm going to just be in front. I'm not going to drop her this time. But again, she's going straight to the ground, right? So a lot of the stuff you see in modern martial arts that we view as being respectable or being efficient, they were doing this stuff hundreds of years ago, okay? So I'm going to skip ahead to Yoko Meyer, my guy. I said the earlier guys, a lot of them assumed you were unarmed versus an armed person. In which case, even they would admit, you're probably not in a good place, right? Even nowadays, with knife self-defense, you know, if you go to a good Krav Maga instructor, and you say, hey, I want to learn, hands okay?
Oh, I'm fine.
I want to learn how to do, you know, knife self-defense. We're like, run. Right? Back in the day, they would say, how's your running? It's not good? Okay, well. Yeah, okay. So, Meyer expected a slightly different, and probably his times changed, or he lived in a city his entire life. So he expected everybody to be here, and probably when we start pulling out knives, we're probably a little bit into our ale, and arguing over are we Protestant or Catholic or something like that, right? So he expects both of us to have. Another big change, you see how she's always had her back foot there? That's fine. This is where you see most knife fighting people. He swapped that. Because now this is your defensive and offensive tool. Okay? So some of the fun things he would do, and I'll just go through some of the simple stuff. What I'm going to show are just precepts, so just basic building blocks. Part of it is just for clarity, right? So I'm basically going to remove my left hand. If I was to do this in free fencing, my left hand is always in play, okay? These two are always working together. But one of the first things he would do is we both pull our daggers out. She's gone to attack me in the side because she thinks, oh, he's open. I punch over. I've also moved my body, right? I pinch. Now I'm going to do the mean way. Sorry. I'm going to come straight across. Okay? This is the mean way. There's some German, I'm going to relax a little. There's some German guys I know who I know can pull this one off every single time. They're the guys I look to when I have questions on this stuff, and they've beaten me up so many times. It's awesome. The way I tend to do it, which is also legit, she does the same thing. I swim through. Bam, bam, bam. She attacked me, I don't care, right? Another way, so if I'm up here, the average person tends to go where you're open, right? Which is why Kristen was coming out to the angle. Some people will cut straight down. If she's an idiot and comes to this side, she's just killed herself,
Yeah.
okay? But if she comes straight down, I get to do something really cool. I punch up, I come over, and I trap her, okay? What have I just done? Remember my Jason Bourne thing? What have I just done? Control the arm. Where's her dagger? Away from me. What I'm about to do next is really mean. I'm going to hit her with the pommel, okay? But she did what Myers said people will do. Back up. Then I can just beat her up, right? He also has lots of fun things we can do with this dagger. One of the things, Fiore, the Italian guy I mentioned earlier, he fought a lot in armor. Because in his time, this type of armor was what was becoming seen a lot, and the plate armor was becoming more popular as well. So because of that, he would have to put both hands on the dagger, right? If we got, I don't see him, but even Larry, in his full Mongol kit, coming hard at me down, me doing this ain't going to stop him, right? If I can put both hands up here, I now have a hard piece of steel that hopefully will stop him, okay? Meyer doesn't worry about this because my opponent doesn't have armor. She's just got a gambeson on her, right? So, as she attacks in, I still do the same thing of a barrier, and then I come up to here, okay? Once I'm here, I have so many fun things to do. Everybody's just going to go, oh, and now you stabbed him in the eye. Yeah, but what if I don't want to kill him? Well, one of the things I can do is this. Okay? It's probably my favorite one. Another thing I can do is we come up is this. All I'm doing now is controlling. So, remember how I was, like earlier, it's like, oh, civil liability doesn't matter? Civil liability in his time period started to matter. So I may not want to kill Kristen. What if you know?
I have a question.
Yeah.
It might be a silly question.
No.
But you know, if these are daggers, wouldn't you be cutting yourself with grabbing it? And...
Yeah, but I'm alive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it's an ice pick, probably not. It's probably
Yeah,
just a pick
right,
with stuff.
right.
But yeah, if it's one of those blades, they're sharp. But how do we cut?
It's gotta move.
You gotta
Oh,
move,
true. Yeah.
right? So if all I'm doing is grabbing, as long as my grip is strong, she's not gonna pull us out. I'm just gonna do this, right? I'm not gonna really cut myself.
Oh,
If she starts twisting, well, okay. Actually, if she starts twisting, that's great because then I can use this. Yeah, I'm just beating you up. Yeah.
my morning work.
5 minutes wrestling.
Okay, so, you know, they're basically, in the beginning, I'm going to run through real quick. We started a little late as well. In the beginning, you know, we started off expecting unarmed versus dagger, right? As we progressed through time, we expected both people to be pretty equal. Now, what I'm going to do last is pull out these two things. I'll steal this. I'm going to go really soft with these, by the way.
Okay.
They're things. Does anybody does Kali or Screama know what this is called? Karambit, right? So we got actually a really nice one up here of the tradition style. So these are only trainers.
Touch the wall like he just did.
Huh? I didn't touch the wall. I did not touch the wall. I pointed at the wall.
Really close. We'll be mad at you.
I will not get that close next time. But these are karambits, right? Does anybody know who a gentleman called Doug Marcada is? Right? If you watch Forged and Fire, he's the guy who does a lot of their cutting
Oh,
stuff.
I love that show.
Yeah. So he's really, really well known for this type of blade. Okay? Let's come out here. So one of the, let's put your finger in here, other way around. There we go. And grab. She's never held one before. They're a bit of a specialist blade. But one of the things that he does is just a simple demo where we stand really close and she goes to attack me coming in from the side and he comes over like this and then through. And she attacks down and he gets his hands up and he does stuff like this. Right? Or hold it like you're trying to cut me. Yes. Okay. She does something like this, and say she goes for a slash from the other side. He comes through like this. Boom, boom. Right? Did that sort of look like what I was just doing?
Yeah.
Right? The people don't change. Right? The weapons change, but how we use the weapons remain very similar. If I'm attacking one of these, I'm just going to go bang, right? If I'm going to cut, I'm going to do this.
5 minutes.
Cut, bang. It's the same thing. It's just because of the distance, where before I'd have to take this big step. If she's cutting in, just cut from this side. Now I'm just going to move a little, right? I'm going to get both hands. I'm going to slice through, boom, boom. Everything remains pretty much the same. So basically the medieval self-defense is modern self-defense. The problem is they're knives. I don't want to be in a knife fight. All right. I think we're out of time.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Any quick questions? Yes.
What about someone has two daggers?
Probably in a very bad place. if they know how to do it.
That's when you run.
Right? That's when you run. Always run. Run. Always run. Any other questions? Very quickly. One last question. Yes.
Where would you go to learn this kind of stuff?
There's lots of schools around the country that do it. Look on the HEMA Alliance page. They'll do also, like for dagger work, modern stuff. Kali, Eskrima, good Krav Maga schools. They all do stuff like this.
Yeah. Afterwards, we're going to run another panel. We're going to ask you guys to leave. But after that panel, come back by, and we will attempt to link you to the closest place to where you live.
Yep.
If we have the information.
Okay.
But
So
you'll
that's
have to
pretty much
clear
it.
and then-
Sorry that the app messed us up. But,